Alrighty, I think we're live. So first of all, welcome everyone to join this GDG Edmonton event. So before we get it started, if you can pay attention to the top right corner of the Bevy browser, there's a link to the code of conduct into the just one second. Go into the Google Community Guidelines and Anti-Harassment Policy for in-person and virtual events. We do ask everyone to be respectful to each other and speak up if you see anything or hear anything that is violating that guideline. We have zero tolerance policy for in-person or online harassment of any kind. So let's just be clear there and clear that out of the way first. And at GDG Edmonton, we are always actively looking for volunteers and the speakers who wants to contribute to the event and the content organization. So if you have anything that you would like to share that you think will build this community stronger, please feel free to reach out to us or join us at the gdg.community.dev and GDG Cloud Edmonton. There's a join us button and join this amazing group and follow up with all our events that's going to come up. So in today's event, we have amazing Google developer expert Roman joining us. So we had Roman at our last year's Dev Fest 2021 at GDG Edmonton on an amazing talk on the serverless backends on GCP. So if anyone is interested in that talk, please go to the GDG Edmonton YouTube channel, go to that video, check out the amazing sessions in that event, especially Romans. So with that being said, so in today's event, we're going to have a hands-on code lab in Flutter and Firebase with Roman. Roman, with that being said, do you want to get started and give us an introduction about yourself? Who is
Great.
Roman? What are you passionate about?
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. GDG Cloud Edmonton, the whole team. Kudos to you for putting together events of this kind for the Flutter community. Thank you so much. I am Roman. I am a Flutter GDE. I am also a mentor for the Northeast for GDGs and also GDG organizer at GDG Lawrence. Very passionate about Flutter. I've been working in Flutter for a couple of years already, ever since its inception. And I'm so passionate to be sharing my knowledge in Flutter with the wider community. So happy to be here. I hope you guys have fun through this session.
Great. I mean, I hope everyone noticed that the animation Roma's camera. So that's something he's going to touch on that very soon. But let's go through some, questions. This is like an interview, but it's a more easygoing kind of interview. So a lot of people are very often interested, how do you get into Flutter and what have you been enjoying the Flutter so far?
Great. So the thing about Flutter is that not only because this is a very fairly new framework that allows you to develop applications for mobile, web, desktop with using one single code base. It's so easy to learn. The steep learning curve is very short, and there's a passionate and very vibrant community in Flutter. There's no better way to get into Flutter than right now. So I can tell you firsthand because I work every day on Flutter. I'm a full-time Flutter developer, but not only because I'm a GDE, I propose and I like to promote Flutter, but it's such a great language for you to get into, using Dart as a language, Flutter as a framework for you to develop applications, one single code base across multiple platforms. And that way it makes you very productive as a developer. So those of you who are ready to make the leap, and ready to jump, there's no better way, there's no better time to do it than right now.
So what about Flutter are you excited to explore next?
So yeah, Flutter is so amazing now with the latest version of Flutter 2.0 Flutter, but then the 2.10 version. Now you have support for Windows development, for developing desktop applications. It came out of beta, now it's ready for production. All of you who are ready to take the next step in truly building applications across multiple platforms, especially Windows, you can do it now. Web is huge, and that's something that maybe hasn't gotten that much attention. And I'm going to be showing a couple of things here where we'll be doing some, Flutter for web. It's not that it's going to be, killing JavaScript or anything like I mentioned, but it's just another, great alternative for you to develop applications and to expand the multiple platforms that you're targeting with your Flutter applications. But it's so many things that I would love to be doing. I wish I had more time. But yes, the next things that I'll be exploring more, I'll be again desktop applications, web applications, and all of that. So I invite everybody to do so as well.
Sounds exciting. I mean, we cannot really cover all the good stuff in this one session. So why
Of
don't you
course.
let the participants know what we will be learning today? And a very crucial question: is Flutter experience or programming experience in general is required for them to participate in this session?
Amazing question. Amazing question. So look, even if you've never done Flutter before or you've never done Dart, in this session, I'm going to teach you. If you just give me, 90 minutes of your time, you will see that in this very hands-on session, you will be learning Flutter at the same time you're learning Dart. It's not like you have to learn Dart before you tackle Flutter. Flutter is a very declarative. It's very easy to learn and very like modular, so you can learn Flutter very very easily and get productive really quick. So I hope that you guys go through, and we're going to be going through very hands-on, very interactive, very engaging code labs. I'm going to go step by step. You guys are going to follow along. You're going to see me code it. I'm even going to invite people over to my Visual Studio Code session. You're going to see a little bit of that in a minute. But I also wanted to invite people to scan this QR code right here, which is an invitation for you to share what's your emotion, how you feel throughout this session. This is a Flutter application that I built with Flutter and Firebase so that you can express your feelings throughout this session. This is just you scan this QR code. You're going to be presented with a Flutter web application where you're going to see like a bunch of icons for you to tap how you feel, how you want to show like your expressions during this session. Let me show you how it works. When you scan the QR code, you're going to be presented with a page. It's a Flutter based web application where you can just tap and then just show like tap on the little icons available, and then you can say how you feel about it. So if anybody is able to scan that QR code, you can just put your point your camera to it, and then you can navigate that URL. Let me know if some of you maybe are having trouble with that, but you should be able to see that page where in your mobile browser you can see it also on the on your desktop, and then you should be able to see that. But yeah, that's an invitation for you to do that. The next QR code in here on this side actually is a this little guy that is floating on my left hand on my shoulder. This is a snap code that I created specifically for this event. And then if you just scan that with your with your Snapchat application, you can get also this little snap filter if you wanna do that. So it's pretty cool. Let me
Sounds
just
good.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Sounds good. Before we get this started, let's just let the participants this event. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A session on your right hand side. You will have the general, the stage, the Q&A, and send all any questions you have. Any questions for Roman specifically, just send the messaging Q&A. We will be actively monitoring through this session. This is a 2-hour session. Yeah, that's I don't want to take up too much of other people's learning time because that's the exciting part. With that being said, Ching and myself, we will stop sharing our screen and then let Roman take over the main stage and give us the learning experience that I think is well worth everyone's time. At the end of a Roman session, we will have a prize draw. It's a random draw. We cannot guarantee everyone to have a prize at the end, but we can guarantee everyone will get an amazing learning experience from this event. With that being said, Roman, take it over.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Like I was saying, anytime throughout the session, please leave us a questions. The guys will be they will be on deck, just listening for your questions. They're gonna be flagging those questions to me anytime. Again, you can drop your questions. I'll be able to do it. Please follow along, pay attention, show your emotions. Again, use the application that I built for like a web application, and then you just tap on those emotions, how you feel throughout the session. For example, if you tap, let's say on this one and the little hearts, you will see like a bunch of hearts like coming through. That was built with Flutter and Firebase. This is the power of Flutter Firebase, how you can build stuff pretty cool, very engaging, very interactive with Flutter and Firebase. That is exactly what we'll be doing right now. In the next 90 minutes, I will put you in the right track if you want to develop very powerful applications using Flutter, using Firebase. And today we'll be using Darpad. Darpad is a web-based IDE so that you can you can learn Flutter right away without the hassle of doing all the installation. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. Again, anytime, you can just show your emotions. Thank you, thank you. You can say how much you love it, how much you love the session, or if you're frustrated with the session, anything, let me know. Or I would appreciate if you give me thumbs up, of course, because that's what I live by. Your support. Let's work. Let's immediately start working. So thank you everybody for joining. Let's get on. So I'm going to be dropping in the link. I'm sharing my screen right now, and you will see the full screen. I'm going to just turn this filter off because it might be confusing for you guys. But what I'm going to be doing is sharing my screen so that you can see you will see the code lab that we'll be dealing with. So that is exactly what I'll be showing right now. So let me know if you guys can see the whole screen. I am going to be sharing
Hi.
this.
So it seems on my end the screen is reversed
Got it.
now.
So I will
Yeah.
drop the link, and I will just stop the virtual camera because all I wanted to do was just show this thing. So now I will be pointing to my screen. I will be sharing my full screen, and then you guys will see it. Let me know right now if you can see the screen.
Yes, it looks great now.
Perfect. Awesome. I just dropped in the chat the link to the code lab that we will be doing today. So today it will be a very interactive code lab. So make sure that you guys can see it. You guys are going to engage in this. Okay, I'm also there in the camera. Perfect. So this is going to be a very hands-on workshop where we'll be dealing both with Firebase and Flutter. The first step of this code lab will be creating from scratch a Firebase project that you will be using even on your own applications. So why don't we get on with this? So I just dropped the link on the chat right now. This is the code lab that I designed specifically for this event. So this is a code lab that will be doing a small application with kind of like a community theme in mind, where we will all pool our resources together, and then at the end we're going to be doing we're going to be creating this what I'm calling a community meter. It's just going to be a Firebase a Flutter and a Firebase powered meter that when you start tapping on that button, that the community support is going to be shown. So you're going to be sending messages to Firebase. Firebase will be reading them, and then we're going to be showing a community meter, how much the community supports these type of events. We're going to be doing it in this application. So again, like I said, we're going to be using Darpad on the web to code this application. We're going to be creating a Firebase project, and then we're going to be going over this code lab that I just created. Is everybody ready to start with the code lab? Just a little thumbs up just works. I know there might be a little bit of a delay, but I just hope that everybody's seeing my screen and is ready to start. Just a little thumbs up, that could work, and then you guys can just tell me if everything is good. I can zoom in a bit if you see it blurry for some of you that may not be seeing it well. Can you guys see it well? Perfect. Okay, great. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be opening Darpad. Darpad, if you go to darpad.dev, I'm going to be dropping that link also in the chat. Darpad.dev is then the editor that we will be using to code our application as well. Darpad is web-based. You can do Firebase. You can do Flutter right on your browser without installing anything. So that's what we'll be doing to code the application. This is the code lab, and then I provided the link, so everybody should be good. Perfect. So let's continue. The first thing that we're going to be doing is, again, going through the first steps of the code lab, where I explained that we're going to be building a 3-page application. We're going to be pulling data from Firebase, creating our Firebase project, and pulling data from Firebase Cloud Firestore. Well, for those of you who don't know what Cloud Firestore is, it's a NoSQL database that is serverless. It's actually part of Google's suite of serverless applications, of serverless offerings. And Firebase provides us a suite of tools like authentication, cloud storage, functions, all like serverless. And one of the the crown jewels of Firebase is Cloud Firestore, which is a NoSQL database that provides real-time capabilities, multi-regional support, and so many good things for you to develop your mobile, web, and desktop applications. So why don't we continue? So again, these are the pages that we're going to be creating. The prerequisites again of this code lab are just you having a browser with a network connection and just using Dartpad. That's it. I'll explain again how to launch Dartpad because we're going to be coding on Dartpad, and then there you will be coding the application. So let me show you how you go about doing Dartpad. So when you go to dartpad.dev, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for those guys, for those of you to see it. In Dartpad, this is the web-based IDE. At the top, there is a button that says New Pad. When you can click on New Pad, and then you get the option whether you want to do Dart or you want to do Flutter. You select the right option that says Flutter. You just type in there, and then you hit Create. By hitting Create, you actually get a little bit of like boilerplate code, but it's okay. That's totally fine. You can just you can even like delete all the code. You can just like select everything and just like highlight everything and just delete it. You can just do that because we're going to be starting from scratch building this application. Great. Okay, so far so good. Everybody knows how to launch Dartpad and how to immediately start creating, but just give it a minute because we're going to get there in a moment. Now we are in step number 3 of the code lab. Let's go to step number 4. Step number 4. See, we're cranking through this code lab. We're already on step 4 without you even almost realizing it. So the first thing that we're going to be creating is a Firebase project. Firebase is free up to a certain limit. It gives you a free tier, what they call the Spark tier. Then the next tier is called Pay as you go, and then you can that is called the Blaze. So everybody here is going to create a Firebase project for free. I guarantee you don't have to pay, and then but you have of course certain limits that at least if you don't exceed, they don't charge you because you don't put a credit card or anything. But at least Firebase allows you to create a free project, which is enough for even small to medium applications without paying anything. And then you can create your databases, you can create your all the things related to Firebase that can power your application. So what we're going to be doing is going to the Firebase console. So let me drop in the chat the link to the Firebase console. So in the Firebase console is how you're going to manage your Firebase project. So we're going to be creating our first Firebase project. Let's follow the steps on step number 4 in the code lab. So let me actually drop the link to the code lab just one more time. We are here on step 4. Let me just drop it right now, just so that, make sure that everybody has it. So the first thing that we're going to be creating is a Firebase project. So you go to the console.firebase.google.com. You just go to that link. Also in the code lab, there is the link. And here is my Firebase project. I already have a project, but you will be creating a brand new project. For you, it will look like this if you just went to the console in Firebase. So it says welcome to Firebase, and there is a button that says create project. In my particular case, I already have projects created, so I will be creating it off of this button that says add new project. I click where it says add project. I will click there, and then if you follow the steps, the next step in step number 4 is adding the name for your project. So I'm going to be adding the name GDG Community App. You can call it anything, but make sure that you call it a proper name in this particular case because you're going to be referring to that name later on. So I'm going to be saying GDG Community App, for example. You can call it anything, but I'm going to be calling it exactly like in the code lab. When you say the name of the project, then the next step is going to ask you to add analytics. So this is the same step. If you say continue, you say no because you don't need analytics for creating your Firebase project, but you can enable it later. Analytics is, of course, is free also, but it gives you like predictions. It gives you like remote configuration. A way to see how your application is doing on the wild, kind of like to releasing it to beta testers and whatnot, so you can gather analytics from your application. But you don't need that. Just continue and just say create project. You just wait a little bit, and then I'm gonna give you just one time, a little bit of time, just so that you guys also catch up. So you go to console Firebase google.com and you create a brand new project in Firebase. I guarantee it, you don't have to pay. This is a free project, so take advantage of this. The project is created, as you can see. If you're following the steps, you will see that at the end of step, roughly towards the end of step number 4, you see that the project is created. So just hit continue so that you get to the project already created. So I'm going to click continue. And here it is. You have a brand new project in Firebase. Congratulations. Now you're able to use this project so that then you can connect it to a Firebase, to a Flutter application. Here you can notice all the features that Firebase gives you under a project. That's how the Google Cloud also manages resources in a project. So here you get like authentication, Firestore database, which is what we'll be doing now, real-time database. These are all like NoSQL real-time databases that are very powerful, that can give you like real-time capabilities. So it's pretty cool. You can also get storage. You can host like your own websites in Firebase. It's pretty cool. I'll let you explore that on your own. But now everybody already created their Firebase projects. Now let's proceed to do stuff with this particular project. So if you scroll down, I just point at you that the project, you should be on the Spark, no cost, $0 a month. You could see it right there on the lower right corner, and then you can upgrade if you want. But you're at the no cost, $0 a month project. That's guaranteeing you that you don't have to. They won't charge you for anything. So make sure that you're there. In the eventuality that you want to upgrade in the future, you could do that on your own. But now I've already given you a free Firebase project. Let's continue to step number 5. So in step number 5 is where we're going to be talking about Cloud Firestore. Cloud Firestore is this flexible, NoSQL, scalable database that gives you like ability to store your data, sync your data, real-time capabilities. You can do like offline support, and it's so cool. You will see how cool it is. Instead of you thinking, for example, like some of you who come from like a RDBMS type of databases, like MySQL, SQL Server, Postgres, or some of those like that. This is a NoSQL database where no tables, there's no relationships. It's all about documents and collections. Firebase Cloud Firestore is based on documents, which is how you package your information, and collections, how collections gather multiple documents. So imagine like collections being like a table, and then a document being like a row. And then a row just has all the information for that, let's say for a user or something like that. So we're going to be talking about collections and documents when we deal with Cloud Firestore. So the first thing that we're going to be doing in Firebase is creating a database. So we're going to be creating our first Firestore database. Let's all get back. We are step number 5, by the way. Let's all go to back to Firebase, our Firebase project. On the left-hand side, you should be able to find the Firestore database link. So it says Firestore database. You can just click right there on the left, and then it takes you right here where you can create your first database, or your first Firestore database. Follow the codelab if you get stuck on anything. See, I'm pointing you exactly what you need to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a database. Now let's go and do it. I'll click in the button that says create database. Make sure that you are in test mode because we're going to be just doing a test application. But eventually you can switch it to production mode when you're more serious and then you want to deploy this in the wild. So now we just hit next because I just say start in test mode. You just go next. Now the next step tells you where you want to store this information. Like where is it that mainly the database will be residing? But imagine that this application is just like stored in one place, but it's also replicated and multiplied like by Google's ability to have a multi-regional support for these databases. It's kind of like it duplicates it in multiple regions throughout the world to make your application, to make your data available to all users. So I'm going to just say that is the US central location. That is where it's going to be created. And then I hit enable. And then I go to the next step where it's actually provisioning the database. You see, we've only done a couple of clicks and we are already creating databases. So it's pretty cool. That's what I like about it. So you see, setting up the security rules. We can talk about that a little bit later. But at least this is provisioning some server so that then it creates a database for you and then it stores that information for you. You don't have to manage servers. That is the beauty of Firebase, the Cloud Firestore, because you don't have to manage servers. So there it is. I'm going to be zooming in a little bit. And then you see that it's completely bare because you don't have any data. If we go back to our codelab and then you scroll down, I take you through the steps on how to do that. And now we go to step number 6, where we're going to be setting initial data for the Cloud Firestore, the data that we're going to be consuming. So remember, we talked earlier about Cloud Firestore, how the data is stored as documents and collections. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing here. The first thing that you start in Firebase is with a collection. So you should have a root collection in your Firebase, in your Cloud Firestore database. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing. So here you're going to be clicking on the button that says Start Collection. And then you're going to be adding a collection. Let me just now show you how to do it. This is Firestore. And then right here, there is a button that says Start Collection. I'll click on this button. And then the collections, you can give it any name. And then the name that we're going to be doing is Team. For example, because we want to be creating one collection for storing information about team, like documents for team. So you say team, you click next, you just add the name team in there, and then you hit next. That is creating the collection. And then when you create a collection for the first time, it's forcing you to add one document. So we're going to be adding documents to a collection. Remember that a collection resembles like a table, and then a document resembles like a row. So we're going to be adding kind of like rows to the table. In this case, it's documents to a collection. So what are we going to be adding to this team collection? We're going to be adding documents of type like objects for like documents for a team member. Let's say if the collection is a team, we're going to be adding documents pertaining to like each individual team member, for example. So what we're going to be showing is what we're going to be adding is a document with 3 fields. So a document is kind of like a key value pair dictionary, so to speak. And then you give a key, which is the name of the field, and the value is just the value that you want to give it. So we want to add 3 fields. In step number 6, I'm saying what are the 3 fields that we're going to be adding to that collection? We're going to be adding full name, photo URL, and title. So it's like 3 fields on one document. And then you see how you add that. Let me show you how to do it. So let's go back. And then here you will see you click on auto ID because every document needs to have a unique identifier. Think about this as if it was the primary key on a table for a particular, let's say, a row. So this is like the primary key, you could think of it. So you click here where it says auto ID, and then it just gives you a randomly generated ID. Now, the way that you add, now we're going to be adding a document inside of the collection. Let's add those 3 fields: full name, photo URL, and title. I'm going to be adding, let's say, full name. And actually, you can pick anything. You can pick anything. I'm going to do, if you guys want to do it, I'm actually going to be using the team from GDG Cloud Edmonton. I'm going to be going to their team and I'm going to be grabbing some of their images and their information, if you don't mind me using it, because this is for you. So I'm going to be adding, for example, Rui's information. So I'm going to be using his image, for example. I'm going to be grabbing that information as the image, the photo URL for his image, for example. So I'm going to be grabbing that. You can grab anything online. You can just grab it like that. You can come back over to the name and I'll just type his full name. And then you see I'm going to be grabbing like the information and he's event and technical. Let's say that is the title. So that's exactly where you're going to be adding as fields to your document. I'm going to be adding now the field photo URL. And because I already have the URL, I just copied it right there. And then the title will be event and technical, for example, like this. So you see, it's kind of like as if you were adding let's say rows on a table, but you're adding fields to a document, and then the document will kind of be like the envelope that encapsulates the data for that document. So it's going to be adding the document, and then the document will be added to the collection. After you add all the fields, make sure that you have to add the fields. You have to specify, let's say, the type of the field. You have multiple types for each field. In this case, I'm only concerned about strings. So I'm going to be adding a string, and then I'm going to be adding a name, photo URL. That will be like a string as well. You could also add like numbers, booleans, arrays, anything like that. And then you add the value, and then you're all set. Now you hit save. When you hit save for the first time, then you will see the document already created, and then you see like the document created. So you see the team collection with a document referenced by a specific ID, and then you see the fields on the right hand side. So you see full name, Rui Pan. You see photo URL, that is the URL to his picture, and then you have title, event, and technical, for example. Now I'm going to go back and out, or even from here, I'm going to be adding two more documents. I'm going to click here and say add document. You click auto ID to kind of like add the unique ID for this document. And then I'm going to be adding other team members. I'm going to say full name. And remember here I'm saying full name, photo URL, and title, you have to add those links. So you can grab them from anywhere. I'm going to be grabbing it from here. Who else do we have in the team? We have Chin. So I'm going to be grabbing his image right here. And then I'm going to be using him as again, one of the members in the database. So I'm going to be adding him here. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to be adding his full name. Sorry. And then the photo URL, you add another field, type string, you say photo URL. You just paste, let's say, the URL to an image or something if you want to. And then the field, then you add the field, for example, the title. In this case, his title is volunteer. So I'm going to be adding that just like that. So you see, very simple. I've already now added two documents to my team's collection. And then if I click on one document, I see the fields on the right-hand side. I click on this one, I see the new one, and so on and so forth. So you see me adding multiple documents to Firebase. I'm going to be adding one more. Let's add Xin Li's here. Like I'm going to be grabbing her picture. I'm going to be adding now, she's the GDG organizer. So I'm going to be adding that as another document. So I'm going to be adding auto ID, full name, and then let me make sure that I have perfect. Oh, sorry. I got her full name right there. I'll add the photo URL field, make sure it's type string. I paste her picture, and the title is the GDG organizer. After I hit save, you see how simple it is, like very intuitive. You don't have to be making sure that thinking about like the relationships or anything. You just add documents to collections, and they look like JSON pretty much once you see it like that. And that's exactly what we're going to be consuming now from our Flutter application. So you see, I've created already a collection called team with 3 documents, each one belonging to one team member with 3 fields: full name, photo URL, and title. And then like that, then now you can see how easy it is to add documents to collections in Firebase very easily. And then after that, all I have to do is just leave it like this. That's it. I'm all set. Now let's go back to the rest of the collab. So I made sure that I went over through all of these steps. We should be good. Adding documents, adding collections. You guys should be experts on that. And then a little recap on that. Remember, is what we're saying, the document collection relationship. So a document can have even other collections. So the way that Firebase Cloud Firestore works, remember, you have a collection which has documents. A document can have fields, but a document cannot have another document. But a document can have another collection, which then in turn can have more documents. Then that way you can build a hierarchy of documents and collections, and then you can do, you build your structure like that. Perfect. Is everybody good on the chat? Just wanted to make sure that it's all good. Yes, Spark, like Rui said, no cost, completely 0 months. So again, I'm giving you free stuff right here, guys. Take advantage of it. So perfect. So we created the teams collection. Now we're thinking about now how to consume that, how to connect the Firebase project to our Flutter application. Let's do that. So now we are in step 7. So in step 7, I'm going to show you now how you connect that Firebase project with all those, these collections that you have in here and the documents, how to pull them from Firebase. Very simple. I'm going to be showing you here in Darpad how you don't have to install anything because everything is installed for you. On the lower right corner of Darpad, you will see a little icon that says like information. If you tap on that icon right there, it tells you all the packages that are already installed for you. So the packages that we'll be installing, that we'll be using are Cloud Firestore, Firebase Core, Google Fonts, because we want to like add cool fonts to this. But yeah, so you see they have a bunch of packages that are already available for you related to Cloud Firestore and all of those things. Also like the provider if you want to do like state management and whatnot. But it's pretty cool. So you don't have to install anything. All you have to do is just add a connection from your Flutter application all the way to Firebase. Let's start. Let's continue down on step number 7. The next thing that the last thing actually that we're going to be doing in Firebase is actually creating an app. So once you have your database in Firebase, you have to be creating an app. An app is kind of like a virtual or kind of like a symbolic like a repository that represents an application that gives you all the things like the SDKs and connection strings and all those things that you need to do to connect it to your specific application. So Firebase has applications for Android, iOS, web, even like Unity, stuff like that. So those are apps because it gives you all the hooks that you need to connect your particular application to Firebase. Let's do that. So in step number 7, I'm showing you how to create a web application. So that's exactly what we'll be doing here. So let's go back to Firebase. And then let's go back to the top where it says project overview. It's on the left-hand side at the top. It's also on the codelab. So the way to add an app in Firebase is by clicking on one of these icons right up here, right at the project overview. So you can even do an iOS project, an iOS app, an Android app, or a web app. Let's do a web app because that's exactly what we'll be doing. So click on the web, I'll click web. And then here it says add a Firebase to your web app. So that's exactly what we'll be doing. We have a web app and we're going to be adding Firebase to it. So the first thing that they ask is adding a nickname to your web app. So exactly in step number 7, I'm telling you, I'm telling you how to add that nickname. So you can just find any nickname. In my case, I want to be stay relevant to what I'm building, which is a community application. So I'll say GDG community app. You can just type anything here, but try to add a descriptive name. You don't need to do add web hosting. That's okay. You just click register app after putting the nickname. That's all you have to do. You click register app. You just wait a few seconds while that gets provisioned. And then that's it. That's all you need. Here I'm showing you how now you're going to be using this information that is given to you by this app that just got created so that you can connect it. In your Flutter web application, you connect it to Firebase. This is kind of like a connection string for those of you who know like SQL Server or MySQL or any of those. So it's a connection string. This is kind of like a configuration that a Flutter will use to connect to that specific database. So that's exactly what we'll be doing. You could either like copy paste this, but I'm going to show you how to access this later. But we're going to need this block of code right here. We're going to need it to connect to our application. So let's continue to the console. There's a button here that says continue to console. I'll just click there. And then here we are. That's it. So now you see that there is a new application created. The GDG community app is already created right there. You see? And then you click here on this little cog icon. Like if you click there, it's kind of like the settings for that project. If you click here, then you have a bunch of other settings that you need to do. But you don't have to do any settings unless you're going to be implementing those things. But the only one that is required when you go, actually, let me do it again so that you guys don't miss it. I'll go back to project overview. I'll click on the app that I've just created. And then I'll click on the little cog icon. See, it says GDG community app. That was the nickname. And then I'll click here on the cog. And then here it says project settings and you're in the general tab. In the general tab, if you keep scrolling down, you will see that there is a public settings section in here. Make sure that you select the email of the project that you're managing. In this particular case, I'm doing is my email. So I'm going to select that email right there. I'll click roman@gmail.com. The support email is key because they require that, because in some settings it is required for at least to have a support email. I don't know why they enforce this particular case, but this is key to actually make things works down the line. Whenever you are building like your mobile applications, if you don't have this, like a bunch of things stop working. So it's a little weird. So anyway, this is the project settings in the general tab. If you keep scrolling down, make sure to have the support email. And then if you see right at the end of this, the general settings tab, here is our configuration. We will be needing this in a minute. So we'll leave this page exactly where it is. We've already created our database in Cloud Firestore. We've already added a collection with 3 documents. Now we've added our app, and then we have our connection, the configuration information that we need to connect our Flutter app to our Firestore database. Let's proceed now, going back to our codelab, just to make sure that everybody got those steps. So remember, I created the application. I'm showing you the connection, the configuration that you need. I'm showing you how to build the app, how to create the app in Firebase, in the Firebase project. Make sure that you add the support email. I emphasize that. And then I'm pointing you exactly the same that I did. I'm just recapping it right now. So there it is. That is the configuration that you need in Flutter. So now that we have that, let's leave it exactly where it is. Like, let's leave our Firebase project where it is. Let's come over, and then I'll just hit next. You don't have to grab that configuration right now. We'll do it in a minute. So I'll just hit next. And here it is. Now we're going to start with Flutter. We did a bunch of Firebase stuff. See, it took us like probably, roughly half an hour. So now let's start building our Flutter application. Now I am on step 8. I hope that everybody's also on step 8. If anybody has any questions, yes, if anybody has any questions, then we're going to be, answering for you guys. But now we're going to start with the fun of Flutter and connecting it to our Firebase. Now let's crack open Darpad. I have Darpad on another tab, which I can even like simultaneously keep it like that, but I'm going to be flipping back and forth as well. I can also do that. So I'm going to, let me move this over to here. I'm going to be just keeping it here on the side. I'm going to be closing this. We may not need it. But I'll keep my project in there. I need the codelab because I'm going to be following. So you can even do it like that. You can either keep it like on one side of your screen if you want to, and you can keep like the code on the left hand side. You can arrange it any way you want. I'm just going to keep it like this so you guys can see everything. This is my code, and here I'll be doing the preview. So I hope everybody can see my project, and you can also see a little bit of the setup. So now let's start. So the initial setup is the first thing. We need to import the packages that are going to be used within our Flutter application, the stuff that we're going to be doing to pull Firebase. So I'm giving you in step number, we're step number 8. In step number 8, let's add at the top, from the top of that step number 8, I'm providing you the 3 lines of code that you need to import your packages. So copy that, copy those 3 lines, come to Darpad. Remember, we'll clean everything from Darpad. We're gonna be starting from scratch. So the only thing that you're gonna be doing here is just dropping those 3 links. So you just drop those 3 links in there, those 3 lines of code, which are the importing of the packages. After you have those packages in there, now the first thing that we're going to be doing is the main method. Remember, the main method is the most important method in the Flutter application because it bootstraps it. So we're going to be doing the void main method in our Flutter project. So you have void main, the 3 packages are imported at the top. Now we're going to continue. So once you have your main method, now let's proceed going down the line. So now this is how you do it. So inside of your main method, now we're going to be setting up that connection that I told you about. Here, there is I'm giving you, this is a screenshot because I'm forcing you to type it. So, but you don't have to type like the configuration. You just copy paste it. But at least I'm forcing you to type the like that initialization piece because this is how you learn Flutter. You learn Flutter by typing, by building, by coding, by doing projects like this. So now let's proceed. So the first thing
Hi, Roman.
yes, go ahead.
Initially, the three imports we have does not include the material or Dart. Is that something the participants need to add it to it?
Yes, thank you very much. That it doesn't include it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I have it on the screenshot. Thank you very much. That is a very great observation, Rui. So I'm going to be adding it here. I'm going to be even adding it also to the code there. So make sure that you do the import of the material package. I'm even going to be dropping it for you guys on the chat. So let me just type it for you, and then I'm going to be adding it. So I'll do material.dart. And just again, apologies for missing that line. So let me just copy that and drop it here in the chat. Make sure that you guys have it. So along with those three lines, thank you, Rui. I'm going to be adding that to this codelab as well. So make sure that the material line is there, and then the three other lines importing all the other packages are there. Thank you very much. And that actually ensures that you're paying attention and that you're there coding. So thank you. That's exactly how we want to make it. We want to make it very interactive. Thank you. So let me go back again to my Darpad. And there you go. So now that I have the four packages that I need, and the main method, now we're going to be adding the rest of the code. So the next line of the code is actually ensuring that the widget's Flutter binding is bound. What this is doing is saying, before you do any calls, let's say like you try to call like a database or something like that, you need to make sure that the Flutter framework is properly initialized. So you need to type the widgets. You need to say widgets Flutter binding dot, and then there's a method called ensure initialized. And this is a method, and I'm just I can even drop it here in the. You say initialized. Make sure that you type it correctly. Initialized like this. So you do get IntelliSense in Dartpad. It's just that sometimes it takes a little bit, but you make sure that you have that line of code, and then you make this main method. You make it asynchronous, and then I'll show you why you make it asynchronous. So you make it asynchronous because when you make a call to initializing Firebase, it's actually an asynchronous call. So you have to make the call and then connect to Firebase. So after you have the main method, the async keyword, and then you do widgets Flutter binding ensure initialized, which I'm going to be also dropping that line in the chat if you guys want to code it, want to add it. Now the next thing that we need to do is bring the configuration that I told you that is in our Firebase. So what we need to do here is say await Firebase, say Firebase dot initialize app. And the initialize app, what it takes is actually an options object. The options object, you type options, and then you say const Firebase options. So the Firebase options that we're going to be actually pasting in here are exactly the configuration that are right here. So all you need to do is just go back to your Firebase project, copy all the lines that are in the configuration. Remember, we said that we were going to keep it here in the configuration in the project settings. So just make sure that you copy all those lines. This is the configuration in Firebase. I'm going to bring it back to my codelab, and then you just paste it right inside of this Firebase options little object right there. So if you see it, make sure that your parentheses are properly closed, and then at the end of the enclosing Firebase initialize app, you put a semicolon. So just by doing this, we've already initialized a Firebase, and it's already connected to Firebase. So Flutter application, you use this configuration, and you connect it to your Firebase project. Perfect. So now we're going to be continuing down the line. Yes, please interrupt me anytime if you're missing anything, if you think you've missed a step. But I've made sure that, of course, except for that line that is missing in there, I've added everything in there so that you add all the proper packages that you need. So let's crank up. Let's continue. The next thing that we're going to be doing is actually the main application inside our Flutter application. Remember, everything in Flutter is a widget, even the application itself. So right under the initialization of Firebase in our Flutter project, we're going to be calling the Flutter framework method run app. So you say run app, and then inside of the run app method, let me zoom in a little bit. Inside of the run app method, then you're going to create your first widget, and then you just call it anything. In this particular case, I'm going to be calling it GDG app. and then you close the semicolon there. It doesn't exist yet, so don't worry. That's exactly what I'm saying here. We're going to be creating a wrapper Flutter widget that encapsulates the root of the application. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. So now if you scroll down, now I'm showing you how you're going to be creating this missing widget. This widget is going to encapsulate the material app, which is the root widget in the application. So anywhere inside this file, you can just find a little bit of space. You just find a little bit of room, and then you create your first widget. So we're going to be creating a class. We're going to be calling it just like this, GDG app. We're going to be calling GDG app extends stateless widget. So remember, in Flutter, everything is a widget, so you can either create them stateless or stateful. Stateless if they're not going to be maintaining any states and they just render, they just paint on the screen, or stateful if you're going to be maintaining state and then you want to persist state across widget rebuilds. So in this particular case, we don't care about the rebuilding piece. We're just going to be creating one simple widget that encapsulates our material application. Every custom widget that you create, you have to override the build method, which is called by the framework when it's going to paint your widget on the screen. So you have to override a method called build that returns a widget and takes a build context. And then you just call it like that. You just call it context. So this widget is going to be is going to have the build method. The Flutter framework calls your build method when it's going to render it on the screen. So what we wanted to render is the first widget, the material app widget. Material app. So remember, everything in Flutter is a widget. Even the root widget. The root widget is a widget. Every other thing you add underneath it is a widget as well. Let's continue proceeding. The next thing that you're going to be adding, of course, you can see this is saying unsupported import. Oh, because I think I still did it wrong also. So let me I think I added it correctly. It said unsupported import package Flutter material.dart. So let me see. I'll make sure that this is still.
Hey Roman, there's a in the first line package.
Oh, there you go. Yes, exactly. I said like, what is that? It's because of the typo. Perfect. At least I'm glad that at least this gives me like the proper error. If you see also some of these infos, is because like we're still not using them, but we're gonna be using them in a minute. Like for example, like this one right here, it says like, oh, maybe you want to do it as a const or whatever. You can do that. We're gonna be going over that in a second. Thank you for keeping me in check there, guys. So please continue doing so. Let's continue down the line. So now that we have our first widget that has the material app, now we need to add the properties that the material app requires, so which are like adding the debug show check mode banner, meaning just like the little debug hash. You want to remove that. You want to add a theme, and you also want to add the home widget to this widget. So let's do that. So I'm going to be doing debug show checked mode banner equals false. This is just so that I don't have the banner, so that it doesn't show on the corner. And then I want to add a theme to my application. So I'm saying theme data. And then here I'm going to add a text theme. What I'm saying here is I want all my text widgets in this application to actually have the same theme, like the same font. So in this case, I'm using the Google Fonts dot Poppins theme. I add the Poppins text theme. I'm sorry. And then here I'm gonna say like theme dot off and then pass the context. And then that's something I'm gonna be explaining in a minute. The theme, Poppins text theme, perfect. So I got that. It's not Poppins, it's Poppins without the G. There we go, and that's it. So that is our theme. So the context in Flutter is a handle that is given to you by the framework to every widget, so that you can find the location of this widget in the widget tree, and you could also use it to pull services and to even access the parent hierarchy of that widget. So the context is very important for every Flutter widget. Let's continue. So now that we've set that up inside of my material app, now I want to tell it what is the main application that is going to show. What is the first screen that is going to show? So you add the home. Home is the property that you set on the material app to tell it what is the first page that is going to be shown to the user. So for that, I'm going to be creating another class called GDG community home. It doesn't exist yet. That's exactly how I like to go about it. I kind of use the TDD type of approach. I make it fail first and then I make it succeed. So right now it may fail because it doesn't exist. But now we've created our wrapper widget. The widget returns the material app. We have added a theme, and now we've said what the home of this project is. So in this case, we're going to be calling it Community GDG Community Home. That will be the first, kind of like your landing page. So now, as you know, every time you create a new widget, just like I created right here, you create a class of either that extends stateless or stateful. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. And I think we're flying through this. We are in step number 8. We've already set up Firebase. We've set up our application. Now we're going to step number 9. So in step number 9, we're going to be building this homepage, where we're calling GDG Community Home. So now you can just go on step number 9 and you can see kind of like the schematics of how it's going to be built. But before we even start creating that page, I am going to have you create this class called the utils. This is kind of like how I create a utility class that has like properties that is going to be used throughout the project. Like I want to have like static methods in here, static variables, and even like references to images and whatnot. So make sure to copy this class that I've provided in here. But even in your project, you can even follow this approach. So this class is just for creating some variables that I'm going to be using throughout the project, so I don't have to duplicate them. So in step number 9, there at the top, there's the class utils. You can just copy that whole class and you can paste it anywhere below in your code. I'm just gonna, paste it like all the way down here so that maybe you even forget about it, but we're gonna be using it in the project. Perfect. So after that, after we've copy pasted our utilities class, which has like some of those common things, now let's create our first widget for the first page, which is going to be called Community Home. So you copy that name. It doesn't exist yet. So the way that you create it, just like you saw above, is saying class, the name of your class, extends, and then I'm going to say stateless widget. I create my stateless widget. Like every other widget, every custom widget, you override the method. You override the build method. So you say widget, returns a widget, build, and then takes the build context. You say context, just like that. And then that's it. Very simple. So now, in order for you to start building the scaffold, forgive the pun, because that's exactly what we're going to be building. So scaffold is one widget that you can use for when you're building like page level widgets. Like whenever you create like a page, you use a scaffold because it gives you like the initial constructs, kind of like the shell for you to build like a page, because it gives you like an app header, it gives you a drawer, it gives you a bottom bar, it gives you the body, so you can do that. So let's use a scaffold. Let's return a scaffold widget out of this. And then the first thing you're going to add in the scaffold is just a background color. So you say background color, and then you say colors.white. So we're just going to be adding a scaffold with a background color of white. At this point, we've made a bunch of code, but we haven't tested anything. Why don't we try it now? With all the code, with all the code that we've tested, what we've done right now, let's hit the run button on Darpath. So if I hit run, you should be able to get a blank screen. Congratulations, you can ship it now. No, I'm just kidding. So it should be just like a blank screen that you get. You don't get nothing else, because we're going to be, this is kind of, again, like I said, it's just the foundation of this application. So the way that you do it, see, it's just a blank screen. That's all you get. But at least it's a good way that you're seeing something, even if it's a blank screen. Now let's continue down the line where we're going to be adding remember, in this scaffold, you can add like an app bar, bottom bar, a drawer, like a side menu. That's what the scaffold gives you. So now inside of this scaffold, we're going to be adding an app bar. An app bar is just like what appears at the top, like a header kind of. So inside of the scaffold, you can do a comma right under the background color, and then you start adding an app bar. App bar is another type of widget. So you do app bar, and then you type app bar. App bar is a widget that has a couple of properties, and then in this particular case, the properties I've already given them to you in the codelab, and the properties are background. And then in this particular case, I want it to be transparent. I don't want anything to show in the app bar. So I'll say, or in this particular case, yes, colors, transparent. Also, I want elevation to 0, meaning I don't want any shadows on my bar. So I'll do background color here. And then here I'll do elevation. Elevation 0 means no shadows. That's it. The next property is called icon theme because I want the icons that are added to the app bar to have like a color theme. So you say icon theme, then you say const icon theme data. This applies to all the icons on the app bar. So you say icon theme data, and you just scroll this up a little, and then you just say color colors.gray. What this means is all the icons that are added to my app bar will be gray. That's all it means. And then title, you could guess what title means. It's kind of like adding a title to that widget. But in my particular case, I want to be unique. I don't want to add just text in there. I want to add an icon. I want to add an image in there. So let's do that. So let's use an image from the network that I'll have it hosted somewhere. So you add a widget to that title. So you see title, you could also add a text widget, but you could add an image widget. That's the cool thing about Flutter. Everything is a widget. Some of them are either interchangeable because they're all widgets. So now I'll add an image.network. And then image.network, that's what it takes. A path to an image on the network, which I've already provided to you inside my utils class. That's why I gave you the utils class. And then that image is in the app bar icon. That's just a path to that image. And then in that image, you just now give it some dimension. So you give it a width of 40 pixels, height of 40 pixels, and you want it to fit, kind of like contain it within those 40 by 40 pixels because I want it to be proportional and I want it to keep the aspect ratio. So I'll do fit boxfit.contain. And then after I do that, now I want to see what my app bar looks like above. So I just hit the run button. And if I hit run, then now you will see that the icon above. You should be seeing that icon that shows at the top of the bar. And that's what I like. See, we do it like this. We make it very, you go step by step. Now you see how things appear. So that's exactly what you want to see. You want to be able to see an icon that displays up there. That is the app bar of this widget. Perfect. And then in the codelab, I show you exactly how it's looking. Now let's continue fleshing out the body of the scaffold. So the body of the scaffold is another property which takes a widget as well. So inside of your scaffold, you just say body, and bodies again takes any other type of widget. And what we want to add is kind of like some padding around the body. We want it to have some breathing room. So add a padding widget. Remember, everything in Flutter is a widget. Even the positional widgets, layout widgets, like margin, padding. Well, there's no margin, but there's like padding. There's center, align. All those are widgets. Even there are like positional widgets, and like layout widgets, like column, rows. All those are widgets. Here, I'm adding a padding widget with a padding of, and then this is how you add padding and margins in Flutter. You say edge insets. And then in here, I'm saying all, meaning all around it. I'll add a 40 pixel padding all around it. And now you have a padding widget. Now inside of the padding widget, I want to add a column. A column widget will just add all its children in a vertical fashion. So add a child of the padding widget, a column. And then if you notice, padding has a child, but now column will have children. That means there are widgets that take one single child, and there are other widgets that take many more than one child, like children. And this is one of them. Now I want all my widgets in the column to be aligned on the left. So you use a cross alignment.start property. So you say cross alignment, cross axis alignment, and then you say cross axis alignment.start. This means align them to the left, so they will be left aligned. Then if you continue down the line on this widget, now you're going to be adding the first widget to the column, which will be a container. Then this container, if you see, is used for adding margin to another image. So you build your hierarchy by nesting widgets inside widgets. In this particular case, the first widget on my column will be a container widget. Container widget is one of the most versatile widgets, I could tell you honestly, because you can add, for example, for containers, you can add borders, you can add round the corners, background images, margin, padding, encapsulate other widgets. That's what I like about containers. So inside the container, I'm going to add a margin. And then the margin, just like the padding, is you use edge insets. And then in this case, I'm gonna, there's another option called only. Not only all, but you say only. And then only is you specify the coordinates where you want to add the, like say the margin. Only one top and bottom, that's it. So I say top 20, bottom 20. That's it. So I'm adding a container with top and bottom margin. That's all I'm doing. Never always make sure to keep order of your hierarchy and your commas and all that so that you have a proper structure. Perfect. So now inside of that container takes one child. So add an image to it. So say child image dot network, another image coming from the network. So the image I've already provided it to you inside of the utils. So I'll say utils dot, and then I'm providing the GDG community logo blue. There it is. This is just a URL. If you see it right here, see, it's just a URL to one image hosted in GitHub. That's all it is. I just made it simple for you, and so that you don't have to type all that long thing. Now let's add some dimensions, just like we did earlier with the app bars image. So we're going to be adding a width of 200 and a height of 200, and also a fit of box fit dot contain. That way, the image is contained within those dimensions. So with that created, let's hit run, and then let's try to see if we see some images in here. Great. I love the progress that we're making. Any questions in the stage? Is everybody good? All good? Everybody following along? Awesome. So now we see an image that says GDG community inside a container wrapped with some margin. Perfect. Just wanted to make sure that everybody's doing good. Awesome. So now that we have the container image, a container with an image inside, let's continue down the line, because that's exactly what we're here for. We're just cranking along, building this page. The next thing that we're going to be doing is this little, if we go back to this, it's kind of like this header bar that says like, meet the team. So we're going to be adding a header before we add like our list of widgets, like the member list. So we're going to be adding that container. And you guessed it, that's another container. Very easy to do. So now let's do that. You see, we're going to be adding the meet the team header banner, and these are the specs. So it's pretty much the same thing. It's another container. So we're going to be adding that. So let's add right under this container. Let me just make sure. So I'll just have this container right here. You can just click on the little parentheses, and then you see where you are. So under that container, I'm going to be adding another container. You just scroll up so you guys can see it. And you see the specs that we have. So we have the light main color, 10 pixels of padding, and we're going to be adding a row widget inside of it. We've already added a column. Now we're going to be adding a row. So let's do this. So inside of the container, let's add a color. And it's going to be utils dot light main color. It's just like a light blue. Add some padding to it. And then use edge insets like we said before. 10 pixels of padding all around it. And as the child of this container, we'll add a row. A row is again one of those layout widgets that position all their children as in a row, like kind of like in a horizontal fashion. So in row, we just say children, because again it takes more than one child. And then you want to make it const. Because why? Because these are hard-coded widgets. And if when you add like the const constructor to a widget, that actually adds a little bit of performance optimization, because that flags that widget to the Flutter framework to say this doesn't need rebuilding. Once it gets painted once, it doesn't need to be rebuilt again. That optimizes your repainting of your widget. So make sure that you use const whenever possible, when it's applicable. So let's continue adding the children in the row. So we're going to be adding an icon. And then I'm going to be adding the icons of the people. It's like an icon that has like people in it. And then I'm going to be adding a size to this widget, to this icon, like 30 pixels. That's good. And then a color to that icon using the utils.main color. So you see how cool it was creating that utils class. You see it allows me to add colors, paths, and some other variables that I want to use throughout my application. Let's add some spacing in between that, the icon and the rest of the content. So I'm going to be adding a spacing using a sized box. That's another widget that doesn't render anything. It's like an empty widget. and then you can add like an empty space, like 10 pixels. So you just say size box with 10. That's it. That's all it does. Just adding a little transparent, like an empty space. And then you add a text widget. Then the text widget, just like the text, the name implies, it adds just the text. So I'm going to be adding the label meet the team. That's all. That's all we need. To add styles to a text widget, you use the property called style and a special class called text style. And then inside of that text style, you assign it to the style property of the text widget, and then you add like the color, and then you add like the utils that main color, and then you add a font size. It's kind of like adding CSS, but you add it to that object called text style. So I do font size of 20, and then you go. So I've already added an icon, a spacing, and the text. Let me just save that, and then I've added in the row. If I hit run, we should be able to see the header right there, which is just a container with an icon and the label. That's it. It's very cool. So now after I've added that, and then you will see it now, and there it is. It's coming along. Now our UI is coming along. Very good. Now we're going to be focusing on the meat of the project, which is actually now pulling information from Firebase and displaying it on a list. Let me show you. After you've done that, I just wanted it to also open it to questions before we proceed, just if anybody has any questions before we move along. Yes.
So, Roman, I have a question. So, usually when we program in IDEs or code editors, the form is easy to do so that the structure is always very clear. So, in Dartpad, does that format button on top actually format? On top actually format our code so that the container, we always know what level or the indentation looks like. Is this better for us to see the code clearly?
It does it, but then sometimes it does maybe sometimes something unintended from you. In my particular case, when it does format, it does it formatting it based on what's better for the IDE as opposed to something that is more visually appealing. You can actually format it. That's perfect. But then I like to actually expand it like line by line so people can read the code better. But yeah, it's a preference. It's a matter of preference. If you want to do it like that, you could do so. But I like to keep it like that and kind of like manage my own like the structure. But yeah, you could definitely do that.
Okay, sounds good. So I know for the purpose of this hands-on code lab, we do want everyone to type everything. But is there autocomplete in Dartpad that sometimes we're a little bit behind, and we can just use all those autocomplete to help us fast forward so that we can keep up?
Unfortunately, Dartpad doesn't do it. But for example, when you code this, let's say if you code along this in your own, let's say, because the same thing that you can do it in Dartpad, you can actually do it in Visual Studio Code. Unfortunately, Dartpad, maybe that's actually a very good suggestion for the Dartpad team so that they can provide maybe some like a type ahead IntelliSense so that it actually completes some of that. It has a little bit of IntelliSense, but it takes a little bit. I think it's because of the limitations, because it's actually running, trying to do that on the browser and try to do it like very like quick for you. It takes a little bit. It does it, but it takes a little bit, like the type ahead. You kind of like have to type and then you have to wait a little bit and then it does it for you. But it's a little bit of a nightmare, but at least it's cool that you don't have to do like all that installation and then you can immediately learn how to do a Flutter on the browser. But that's definitely a good point.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So Libby had sort of a suggestion for guys program on Mac. You can use Control and space key. Sometimes it will show the options automatically so that you don't have to wait. So that's another easy way that help you to just fast forward is a little bit faster. That's all.
Great tip. Because exactly, you want to be productive. You want to make sure that you are coding to the standards, and also of course following along. You don't want to stay behind. Of course, remember, if you fall behind by any means, at the end of this collab, again, spoiler, there's the whole code, so you can also get it from there. But the way for you to like you mentioned, the way to learn Flutter is actually forcing yourself to code it. I've seen a bunch of collabs that provide you the whole code and you just copy paste it. At the end of the collab, you're like, didn't learn anything. I learned how to copy paste. So, but that's exactly how I wanted to make it like this, so people are, not only entitled and forced to learn and type it like that.
Yeah,
but very good point, and that's a good shortcut that you provided right there.
Yeah.
Great.
That concludes all the Q&As we have for this time.
Perfect. Okay, let's continue with the next part of this code lab, where we're going to be now pulling the information from Firebase and displaying it as a list. Now we're going to be pulling, we're going to be showing like the list of the team members that we have in Firebase. So let's do that. So now we are already in step number 10. Step number 10, now we're pulling the data from from Cloud Firestore and displaying it as a list. So because I like you guys, in step number 10, I've already provided all that code so that you don't have to type all that either. So what we've created here is actually a class. So, which is a good practice in Flutter. Instead of you just consuming the data raw from Firebase, which gives it to you kind of like a map of like a dictionary of key value pairs, it's good that you map it from like Firebase to a strongly typed class that can be managed better within Flutter. So the way that you do it is actually creating a class, and then you create a utility method. You see, you create a class with the same fields as in your Firestore database. You create a constructor for it, and then you create a factory method. The factory method is used to map that dictionary of values coming from Firestore into your class, and then it populates every property. So you create what they called a PODO, a plain old Dart object. You use this so that you can manipulate the data better within Flutter. So that's exactly what I've done for you guys, because I like you a lot. So you just, in step number 10, we're in step number 10, you copy the whole class. So you copy the class, and then you can just scroll all the way down. You can just paste it anywhere in your code. By pasting this, now we're going to be able to use this class and then manipulate it in our application. Perfect. So now we're going to be talking now in the sense of pulling data from Firebase inside of Flutter about how you get it from in Flutter. So we were talking about documents and collections in Firebase. But now when you are consuming it as a client, whenever you query data from Firebase, you get it as either a query snapshot or a document snapshot. A query snapshot is a reference to a collection in Firebase, not the actual data itself, but just a reference to a collection in Firebase. That way you can query that collection, you can say how many documents are in there, but you don't have the actual data yet. After you have the query snapshot on your end on Flutter, then you can extract the documents. Then inside of the query snapshot, which is a reference to the collection in Firebase, you get the documents, which are a list of document snapshots. A document snapshot is also a reference to a document in Firebase, not the data either. See, it's all like getting references, because that's how optimized Firebase is. When you make a call, you actually don't get the whole data set. You actually get a reference so that then you can extract the data, because it optimizes it like that. After now you've consolidated your query, then you pull the data. So here we're going to be pulling a query snapshot, which is a reference to our collection called team. And then we pull the documents, which are references, document snapshot references. And then inside of the snapshots, the document snapshots, then we extract the data, which is eventually a dictionary of key value pairs. Let me show you how to do that. Also, what we're going to be doing here is actually a one-time fetch. A one-time fetch in Firestore is actually from the query snap, from your collection reference, from the reference of that collection, you call a method called get. What that does is actually just gives you a one-time call from Firebase into Flutter, and you just get the data once. That's it. You just get it. It's kind of like making a request to an HTTP API. Like, you just get it and you get the data. You say .get on that collection references, and then you're done. As opposed to other approaches on how to get data from Firebase, which is calling a stream, like listening on a stream and then getting a stream of data from Firestore. That is like the real-time capabilities that Firestore has, that we're also going to be touching later in a minute. But right now, we're going to be doing a one-time fetch using get from Firestore. So let me show you how to do that. We're still in step number 10. We're scrolling right down, and then we're going to be creating one expanded widget. So it's going to be expanded widget because we're going to be occupying most of the real estate in our application. So you add an expanded widget. For those of you who know, like HTML5 and CSS3, this is kind of like a flexbox model, and this is like a flex container, for example. Now inside of the expand that you add a child, and you add one special widget that is available called the Future Builder. Future Builder is just a widget that listens on an asynchronous call, and then it returns that operation and it notifies you when that operation finishes. A future in Flutter is like an object that represents an asynchronous operation to be executed in the future. So you give this widget, the Future Builder, a future. Then when the future is completed, it notifies this widget, and then this widget rebuilds. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So as a child of the expanded, you add a Future Builder. And the two properties that the Future Builder takes is a future. And in the future, remember, it's just it takes just an object type future, and then just this object just notifies the widget when that data has arrived. When we say .get, we're gonna make an asynchronous call to Firebase and pull the data. This is how you do it. You say Firebase Firestore. And then when you have the instance, you say instance. See, now the IntelliSense is coming out. So instance, and then you say collection. And then you have to say the name of the collection that you want to query. Remember, in Firebase, we have a collection called team. So that's exactly what you need to say here, team. That's it. And then the team collection, you say .get. When you say .get on that collection, you're going to get a collection reference, a reference to a query snapshot. It's like a snapshot. It's kind of like a view of what the collection is over there in the database. And then the next thing that you need in the Future Builder is a builder. The builder is a callback method that gets executed when the information has arrived from Firebase. This is the method that gets called when after the future is called and then we've received the data, it triggers the builder. So you provide here a context and then you add the snapshot. Remember I talked about the snapshot? Snapshot is that query snapshot. This is the reference to that collection in Firebase. So now here is where we're going to be adding checking, for example, for the data that arrives. So you can, out of this snapshot, you can query whether the collection has any data, whether there's any errors in the snapshot, whether there, the connection state, whether you're still waiting for pulling the information, and a bunch of really cool things. So what we're going to be querying, like in step number 10, we're going to say if snapshot, you see you have all those options. We're going to say if it has any data, if it has data, then you're going to pull the data. If has data equals true, then you're going to pull data, the data now that is in there from the collection, you're going to pull it. So check this out. You're going to pull it as a list of query document snapshots, which is, again, a reference to the collections that are inside of the team collection. And then I'm just going to call it like member docs, like this, right? And then you're going to be pulling the data out of the snapshot. This is how you do it. You say snapshot dot data as query snapshot, because query snapshot is the collection. So you want to map it to a query snapshot and then get the documents out of it. Look, dot, and then you say as query snapshot dot docs. You see docs? So docs is actually the collection of the documents. We have 3 documents in Firebase. We have these 3 documents inside of the collection. Those are the documents that we're getting right here. So after you get those, and if you query whether there's data, and then now you're just check for the, let me just move this over here so you guys can see it a little better. And I can squeeze this a little as well. So there you go. So now you can see that. Now let's just try to map all those documents. Remember, now we have the documents from Firebase. Now we want to map those documents into strongly type objects. How do you do that? Now we're going to say list team member. Remember, we want to map the data that is in Firebase to data that is usable in Flutter. So we're going to be calling it members. It's just a list of team member objects. And then I'm going to be using all these member docs, and I'm going to map them to those team members. So I'm going to be just saying member docs dot map And then each document that I get from Firebase, I'm going to run it through my team member dot. Remember, I created this method from JSON. That from JSON takes a map, a dictionary, grabs all those properties, and then map it as a strongly typed team member object. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. So I feed it into this, and then out of that document is where I'm going to extract the data. Now that document, remember the document is a document snapshot. That is the one that has the data. So you extract the data. So you say dot data as a map of string dynamic. So the data comes like this. It comes like very raw from Firebase. So if you say dog.data as map dynamic, that's what you're getting it, like the raw data as a dictionary. Now we're mapping it as a strongly typed object so that then we can feed it into our list. So now I just say dot to list, convert it to a list of we're converting it to a list of team member objects. So look, we're grabbing all the members, all the documents that we get from Firebase, map it as a team member, and then converting it to a list. That's exactly what we're doing right here. Now, all you can just check right now is whether you're actually getting the data. So I'm going to be grabbing that property right there, members. And like in the codelab, I'm just going to show it on a text widget. So I'm going to be saying return text, and I'm going to be saying members dot length because I want to see whether it shows me like there's a three items in there. I'm just going to say to string. If I say this, you see that this like a little red line in there is because remember from this builder you must return something because this is within this if condition. Then what you do, and I've already explained it in the codelab, you just return something empty from here. You can just say return a size box or something. I could just say const size box like this, just like in the codelab. So in the codelab, I'm saying always return like a size box, but I want to display how many members I have in there. If everything is well, and if you follow the codelab exactly the way it is, if I just hit run, we should be able to see a little tiny little label with the number 3 in there because I have 3 documents in Firebase up there. So if this is running, it should be showing, and then you should see it shows for a little bit, and then it shows the number 3. There you go. So now we're cooking. Now we're pulling data already from Firebase, and now I'm able to now, for example, grab this information, the members collection that I've already mapped, and now I can create like widgets that look like the little row. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing now. So you see, now we've already connected. So it only took us about an hour, less than an hour, to connect. Flutter, create our Firebase project for the first time, connected to Firebase, create the first page, do the connection, pull information, map it, and now we're seeing. Now what I'm going to be doing is just now using those mapped team members, and I'm going to be creating like that the rows that individually represent like those members. So I just want to see that. I believe that's what we're going to be wrapping up with. So we're going to be creating that, and then we're going to be doing like one collaborative little activity so that everybody sees the power of Flutter. And if you complete this whole code lab on your own, you will be able to see, like, truly appreciate the power of Flutter and Firebase. So let's wrap up this particular step right here. So I can show you what we're going to be building now is the team member list. We're going to be building now the list that represents each team member. So let me just do that real quick for you guys here. I'm going to just find a spot anywhere in my application. And just like you saw, you can just create any widgets that extend stateless widget. Now, you guys are experts, so you can just do, class team member list, extend stateless widget. It's always like that. It never changes. So you always either, create a class that extends stateful widget or stateless widget like that. I'm going to be creating a property to receive the members. So I'm going to be saying list team member, and then it's going to be called members. Very simple. And then I'm going to be creating a constructor to receive it. So I'll say const team member list, and then I'm feeding that property in there. Very simple. And then just like any other widget, you always override you always override the build method. So you say override widget build, and then you pass the build context like this, just like we did before. You can even copy paste if you wanna. If you don't want to do like a lot of the copy, you can just copy paste it from other classes that you have in there, which is pretty cool. But even myself, like I just do it like even by hand, like very normally, because automatically that actually exercises your Flutter muscle, and then you continue learning. So from this, I'm gonna be returning a list view, which is another widget that displays your widgets in a vertical fashion or horizontal fashion, depending on how you want to provide like scrolling capabilities. It's just a list that scrolls pretty much. So that's exactly what we're building here. And then inside of that list view, we're going to be creating like the team member, like the member, like that little row that displays the each member. So let me show you how to do it. So you use a specific constructor in the list view widget called builder. And then this builder, what this does is, what you see the viewport that you see, let's say if you have 1,000 rows and you only see like 5 because that's what you see on your screen, that's the power of listview.builder. What it does is it only renders the widgets that are visible. Sorry, it only renders the widgets that are visible. The other ones just doesn't render it. Only when they come into view, that's when they get rendered. So the listview builder is optimized for like long lists. So it takes 2 parameters: the item count, meaning how many items is it that is going to render. So we're going to be using, of course, our collection of members for that. So I'm going to be saying members.length. And just like even the future builder, it has an item builder, which is a method that an item builder, which is a method that for every item in the collection is going to execute. So here you pass the context. You pass the context and an index, and then inside is where you're going to be building every single like widget row. Let me show you how to do that. So you extract every object from the team member. So you say team member. Remember, we created a team member. You just create like a symbol. You can create a single property in here, and then you extract that out of the collection using the index provided, like this. And then, for example, we're going to be showing, let me just test this to see if it's working. So I'm going to be displaying just the member name for now. See, now I can see why I programmatically I wanted to do this, because you can see now I can test this application real quick. Instead of now doing this, like the little text that shows the number, I'm going to be using my new list that I created up here. I will be adding it right here, adding the members to it like this. Because see, I created a constructor in the members list. I am already building the list view, and I'm showing just a text label inside of the list. And now I replaced that placeholder label that I had above by this newly created list. If I run this now, instead of seeing the number 3, you should be seeing a list with 3 text labels with the numbers of the team members from GDG Cloud Edmonton. So now you will be able to see, it takes a little bit, and now you see their names. Cool, isn't it? So now what I'm going to be doing is expand on this building, and now just build a proper like little card that looks like the one that we're building. So if you just scroll right down, you will see that is exactly what we should be seeing in this step number 11. And now if you go to step number 12, is where we'll be building now this little member card. So you see everything that I'm doing, I'm making as a separate little widget. Every widget, I make it separate. And then I build kind of like a hierarchy of widgets, and then I make it very decoupled, very modular, and then each widget does one thing. Now we're only going to be creating a separate widget just for the member card. And if you see, it's no different than any other one that I'm even going to do. Like I can even do a copy paste of this like this, you see, and then just reuse it and say, team member card. You see, that's what I like about Flutter. It's very, very methodical, very structural. You just follow those rules, and then you should be good. And you see, this class takes a member. So I say team. It just takes a single member. So I say team member, and then I'll just call it member. Just one member, because it's a card. It's just this little card right here that represents one single member. So we're going to be building that per member, right? So after I do that, then now all I have to create is a constructor that says team member card, and then I populate that member right here. So I'll say member, and then that's it. I don't need any of this, of course, inside of the build method, but what I need is a container. So I'll say return container, because that's going to be like the beginning of my structure. So I'll do return container, and that is the top. And then inside of the container, we're going to be adding margins. So we're going to be adding margins around the container. So I'll just be saying margin, and then I'll add a margin. Remember, doing the edge insets. And then I'll say only, because I'll only want top 20 pixels and bottom 20 pixels. Very cool. Now, as the child of this container, I want my items to look like the picture and then a column with two labels. That's it. So I add a child, and then the child will be a row, because initially the first items are a row, but then I have this little column that has the two labels. That's it. So now let's do that. So inside of the row, I'll add a children property. Very cool. And then what we're going to be adding is the image. So now we're adding the image as a clip oval. Clip oval is another widget that just clips the image as a circle. So we're almost wrapping up before we do the last step. So I'll just finalize this piece right here. So I'll just do clip oval. And inside of the clip oval, that all it does is just going to clip the image, and it's going to make it look like a circle. That's all it will do. So I'll say child image.network. Remember, we're also having to pull the full URL. Remember the photo URL out of the team member, which I saved in the database. So I'll say member dot photo URL, and this will display the image that was saved in Firebase. And now to this image, all I'm going to say is I'm going to change some of the dimensions. I'm going to make it 50 pixels, also in height, and I'm going to fit it using boxfit.cover because I don't want the image to look like distorted. So I want it to look well. And let me fix height. Okay, and then after this, what I'm going to do is just adding just a column that contains the two labels, like the label for the full name and then the label for the title. That's all that we will be doing. So here, I'm sorry, I provided the wrong thing. And then next to the clip oval, I will add a little bit of spacing. So I'll just do const sized box with a width of 20 pixels. And then I will add a column. Actually, I don't need to make it constant in this particular case, but I'll make it later. But at least I'll say a size box of 20. Let me make sure. Okay, there you go. And then now, because I'm adding the constant up there. So anyway, so I'll just do the size box right there, and then I will add a column right underneath it. So the column, because I want to add the widgets just like that, like vertically in vertical. So I want to also align them to the left. So I do the cross axis alignment of start. So they will be left aligned. And then that's it. All I'm going to do is just add the children. That's the last thing I'm going to do here is just add the children. And then the two text widgets. You can even copy some of the text widgets that we've done above, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. You just do text, and then feed the member dot full name. Remember, we want to display the name with some stylings that we're going to be adding to it. So we're at a style of, let's say, text style, and then we're going to be adding the color, which is just the utils dot main color. and just add a font size of like 25 pixels, something like that. You can just copy paste this exact same one just to save you some typing. And then we're going to be adding, instead of the full name, we're going to be adding the title. So at the top is the full name, below the title, but instead the title will have a color of gray. Let's say color, sorry, colors.gray, and the font size of 15. So we want it like a little bit smaller. That's it. So with that in place, now that we have, yeah, now I can add the constants. So, and there we go. So, and add the comma right here. So look, so now that I have now my member card, now I'm ready to use it. So after I added the member card, instead of displaying like this label right here, I'm gonna replace this text widget by our newly created team member card. And all that we need to do pass into the constructor is just that single member that we pulled above, member, like this. There you go. And just by doing this, I'm gonna be hitting run. And now you see that the list is pulling member cards, and then that team member list was injected into that future builder, and then the future builder, when it pulls it, then it pulls the information. So you see the future builder was the key to all of this, which is pulling information from Firebase, notifying the widget to rebuild, then creating a list, creating each individual team card, and feeding the data inside of each team member card. So with this, I've concluded at least the codelab piece of this session. I hope that all of you can take this codelab, take it all the way. I've even added some bonus sections in this codelab so you guys can follow along and even use it in your own events if you want to do, in hackathons or whatever. Because in just this small codelab, you can see the power of both Flutter, Firebase, how to pull data, how to create data, and all of that. So now I'll have a request from everybody, those of you who are following along, or even if we're not following along, but if you want to participate, I have a request for you. So what we want to do is this exercise so I can show you the real-time capabilities of Flutter in the real-time aspects of it. So if you go on this codelab and you go all the way to step number 21, go to step number 21 in this codelab that I've provided, where I have the complete code of this codelab. I have the complete code of this codelab on step 21 in this codelab. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna open Darpad, or you can even open another version of another instance of Darpad if you want to. Look, I can even open a new pad if I want to. Look, I create a completely new WordPad, new Darpad. Make sure you clean everything from the Darpad. And then in the codelab, you go to step number 21. Step 21. You go to step 21 and you copy everything from step 21. Scroll all the way down and you copy everything from step 21 in the codelab. Just copy everything. You're going to do copy. You do paste. You paste it right into Darpad. Just paste everything, right? And then once you've pasted everything, now you're going to hit run. So what I'm giving you here is the same project that is already created and it is already pointing to Firebase, to another Firebase instance. And I'm going to show you now the power of Firebase, the real-time capabilities. Make sure that you see the whole thing in there. Now you see like some other team members, you see like the team members from GDG Lawrence. But what I want to show you is the real-time capabilities of Flutter with Firebase in Darpad, and us as a community involved in a let's say collaborative experience. So let's go again. Step number 21, grab the complete code, paste it in Darpad, and run it. You should be able to see the whole code in here just as I see it right now. Is anybody doing this? Is anybody following along? If you have done so, you will see like the GDG community page with this information showing. And now I will ask you to locate on the lower right corner of the community page a floating button that has like a message icon. So you're going to be clicking on that icon right there. You're going to be seeing the community meter. The community meter is this widget that is also in this code lab. That if we had a little bit more time, we would have been able to do it. But in this code lab, I created this community meter that is connected to Firebase using the real time capabilities. And now, every one of you, each one of you, can start clicking on that button until we get 300 messages, or else we won't leave from this session. I'm just kidding. No, let's just try to test the real-time capabilities of Flutter by copying the code that I've provided already for you. You paste it on Dartpad, and at the count of three, you're gonna start hitting that send message button, and then you will be seeing. I'm gonna be doing it as well. I see a lot of people doing it, so all of us, let's do it as a community. Start clicking on that button. Start clicking on that send message button. Start clicking. Keep clicking. Keep clicking. Don't stop clicking. Look, I'm even gonna continue doing it like that. I'm gonna hit it again. Look, I'm even gonna reload it. Keep clicking. See, it's gonna keep listening. Keep clicking. Keep clicking. What this is showing is how fast Firebase is, how the real time capabilities of Firebase, how it actually makes it so that you can build it. And congratulations, guys, you have already achieved it. You see, I just wanted to show you with this small session, this small collaborative approach, how simple it is to connect Flutter to Firebase, how powerful it is. And you see the real-time capabilities of Firebase, how just by when you were clicking, it was responding so fast for you. So let me even like just let's say in this particular case, I can even go to the database and I can just clear it again, and then you will see it. For example, if I just go to those messages and then I clear them for you, you will be able to see that now you will see it like completely clear. But what I wanted to take from here was the capability of of Firebase, how fast it is. You see, you were tapping in nearly real time. Look, I just cleared all the messages, and there it is back at zero. That's how cool it is to do Firebase, how to do Flutter. And you see, if I start tapping again, it will start just filling the messages again. So go ahead, use this code lab, do it on your own. Take a look at some of the code labs that imply doing like the real time capabilities, and you see how cool it is. So this is it, guys. Flutter, Firebase, go in there, start building your applications that deal with real time capabilities. And yeah, make sure to also follow me on Twitter, because I'm gonna have a couple more events where I'm gonna be doing this same project, and we're gonna be taking the Flutter Festivals on the road. Thank you to the folks in GDG Cloud Edmonton for hosting me. All of you guys for connecting and participating in this event. And that's it. Good luck to you and your Flutter learning journey, and I hope to see you in the next event. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Roman. That's a very exciting learning experience. At the end, it's getting a little bit, very fast paced, but at the end, we saw the result that everyone started clicking, sending message, and we see the end results. And I think that's all it matters. It's very exciting and it's very interactive. And if everyone follows Roman's code lab to complete all the steps, you should have the same kind of interface that you can even practice team on this code base. So before I get into a little Q&A, so in the chat channel, we are going to start random draw soon. So send a message in and just let us know you are still with us and you want to participate in the random draw. And Chin is gonna start that process very soon. My question to Roman really is, we did the whole practice in Dartpad. Where do the participants go now with the code they programmed in Dartpad? So what's the next step for them? How can they take that code, turn into a real project, and turn into something more meaningful? Sorry, you're muted.
Yes, that's an amazing question, and that's a great follow up. So, whatever you just did in Dartpad, you can even copy and paste it into Visual Studio Code and immediately run it on an emulator. The great thing about Dartpad is that it allows you to quickly prototype. Let's say you're not in your main development machine, you can be somewhere else, and then you can just open a browser, start coding. Let's say, oh, you've already devised the idea. Now you can just grab that code. You can even put it as a GitHub gist. You could also copy that code, share it with other people. You can even make a repo out of that. But the best thing to do is to grab that code, bring it over to Visual Studio Code, and continue, let's say, on building a full blown application out of that. Like in 3 applications that I've published already, I've actually started it from Darpad. I started it like that, started prototyping. When I'm satisfied with the outcome, then I grab the code and then I move it over and then I save it. And then from there I continue on. But it's a great point because again, Dartpad allows you to start prototyping, collaborate with other people, and even connect it to like a database like Firebase, and then from there to a more serious project. So very good point.
Yeah, that's great. So I would imagine most of our participants already have Flutter experience, though, or they already have their local, environment set up. But for anyone who this is your first time to play around with Flutter, and you think it is fun, you want to do more with it, beyond Darpad, I send a link there that you can install Flutter in your local machine and start actually doing programming your local machine in emulators. With iOS side, you have iPhone simulators, iPad, and also you can do that with a web browser, a Chrome browser. And on Android side, you have all the Android devices in the emulator environment. So start playing around with it, and as Roman said, you can add more widgets because in Flutter it is widgets on top of widgets. You can add all different widgets there and just build an app that suits what you need and what you expect out of Flutter. So again, thanks Roman for this code lab. It is very hands-on, and in this short period of time, we build our backend database and how to let our Flutter app to interact with the database, and then you have the UI. And just keep in mind, this UI can run in iOS, Android, and also web. So you are literally building 3 interfaces or 3 UIs at the same time. So in such a short period of time, that's a great accomplishment
and,
for
and, I'm,
everyone.
and I'm so glad that you brought that point. Exactly that same code. You put it on Visual Studio Code. It will work right now on the web, Android, iOS, Windows, Mac OS, everything. Please take advantage of the beauty of Flutter, how with one single code base you can deploy to all those platforms. So go ahead today, crank open Visual Studio Code and start coding, guys. So yes.
Yeah, that's great. Chin, do you want to take over? Sorry, I always pronounce your name. Chin, do you want to take over for the random draw? And if you have a result, let the participants know.
All right, I will start the draw now, and I spin. Let us see. It is. I'm really sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, just as how Rui pronounced my name. It will be Rishaba Raizada. There we go. Congratulations. Yeah. I'll send it to you. Right.
Do you wanna share the screen maybe
Oh,
of the spinning? Yeah, for
uh,
transparency.
Okay,
yes,
so go ahead.
of course. Let me share my screen really quickly. I have just done the draw. Can you guys see my screen? This was the result I have drawn last. There we go. You guys can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this. So congratulations, Hiroshima. Yeah, this is a really fun event. I think you really can take over from here. Or
Yeah.
was the right screen not displayed?
No, I can actually see the random draw. We only
Okay.
have one random draw, or do we have multiple?
I believe it is 1, if
Okay.
I'm correct. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So to conclude this event, Roman, if we can see the QR code on Roman's screen, if you can scan that on your device and start clicking your concluding emoji, and let's see, can everybody see? I'm typing. Oh, sorry, I'm clicking on all the icons. So if you can, scan that QR code and just show Roman some love, that would be great. And other than that, that concludes our event today. I think it is a great learning for everyone, and there will be more events coming up with the GGG Edmonton. So please join us if if you see the value of continue learning with us and continue following our journey. And again, follow Roman on Twitter, and also I think Roman on your personal website, there's a lot of workshops, there's a lot of codelabs link there. Please go ahead and actually, Roman, do you want to share that link with everybody?
Definitely, yes. So I definitely invite everybody. For example, today's session wasn't like like super like introductory, because again it's dealing with with Firebase and whatnot. But it was, at least I wanted to make sure to keep people engaged and whatnot. But make sure to visit my portfolio. I'm going to be sharing now all the workshops that I have for beginners. So I'm going to be dropping it right here now on the chat. Let me see. So you can just take a look at those workshops. I have like beginner workshops and advanced workshops, also dealing with Firebase. So please go to that link, romanjustcodes.web.app/workshops, all about Flutter, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Have fun, go at it, use it even in your own events. I don't mind. Just have fun just doing Flutter. That's it, guys. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. I will give everyone 2 minutes. So we're at 2 minutes to the end of the event. I'll give you 2 minutes to copy that link, because there's a lot of great content in there, and you can learn a lot from that link. So 2 minutes, copy that link, and then we will end this event.
Yep.
And again, thanks for everyone who followed along with this event. It is very interactive. I mean, 2 hours is too bad. We cannot complete all the steps. So please, after this event, continue finish that collab and just have that full experience. And the next time we'll be trying to add more time to it so that we can complete the end-to-end. Because I think everyone still wants to stay on this event, but we unfortunately have to end this first. So
And
thanks,
again,
everyone.
before we wrap up, I just wanted to say thank you guys. Both of you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for putting great events like this. And hope to see you guys in the future.
Yeah.
Hope
Let's
to see you
let's
too.
all give a round. Sorry. Let's all give a round of applause for Roman being an awesome speaker today. I had a lot of fun. I followed through the entire thing, actually. And let's also thank Rui for organizing this entire event. Without him, I don't think this event will be as successful as it is. So yeah, let's give a round of applause to him as well. This is really fun, and yeah, I think we'll see everyone on the next event on GDG Edmonton.
All right, bye guys.
Thank you, everybody.